I still got a bone to pick. Why do they call it a bone to pick? I'm picking meat off the bone, but why do they call it you got a bone to pick? Like as if I got a problem. Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so I still got a bone to pick with the prognosticators about investment returns. All right, so I was just thinking about this as I got my car, my 2017 Dodge Durango, all right, with 122,000 miles on it. I absolutely hope to get another 122,000 on it for sure. I saw these guys who say historic rates of return are meaningful, and look, I'm not against that. I'm not against it. I mean, you got to start from someplace. You know what I'm saying? I'm using that as I write my book, by the way, in some regard, historic rates of return. Let me roll up the window so you can hear me better. So people say, I can't even hear you, Scanlon. I can't hear you. The audio is too bad. Actually, I appreciate when people tell me the audio is too bad. I've had many a video the audio is bad that I had to delete, so I appreciate y'all saying that. All right, but anyway, I was just thinking about this. I was thinking about because I'm going to go to Costco later today. And I was thinking about toilet paper. Remember what happened to toilet paper in 2020? Toilet paper is in short supply, and everyone is freaking running into Costco at dark 30 to get all their toilet paper because they got to wipe their butts. We should have had a bidet. I'm getting a bidet. Whenever I move to my forever house, I'm getting a bidet, dude. Can't wait. Those freaking Japanese know how to do it. Well, actually, it's the Japanese or the French. Whoever the hell they are, they know how to do it. I'm doing that. Anyway, the point being was, how does investment returns make these assumptions relative to insanity like COVID? I mean, they literally shut down supply chains. So you can't make any prognostication based on things that actually happened that may or may not ever happen again, shutting down supply chains so there's no toilet paper. And that affects investment returns. Just look what happened to the stocks for companies that do overseas traveling. You know what I'm saying? The freaking cruise ships and stuff. Royal Caribbean and stuff. You're going to say what happened during COVID, we can gather that and assume that going forward could happen again. It just doesn't, I mean, come on, it doesn't make sense, dude. You can't sit there and say what happened during COVID is something that we can plan on happening again to give us future expectations of returns. It doesn't make sense. I'm not saying something along those lines can't happen, but it's such a one-off. World War II was such a one-off. COVID was such a one-off. The 9/11 was such. How do you use these events which cause investment distortions to say this is what could happen, not what could, what will happen in the future on my model portfolio returns? That's why I like the Vanguard stuff, man. Which I don't even think Vanguard uses in their own financial planning software. It's crazy. Because the Vanguard model says it very... there's a freaking hawk or something. Just watch out for wind turbines hockey, because wind turbines love them some birds. I got a cough. Let me know a second. I got a cough. Look at my tonsils there. Tonsillitis. Anyway, so these are... How do you say my investment returns going forward are based on past returns, which are based on one-off events, World War II, COVID, all this other crap, 9/11. It doesn't make, banking crisis and stuff. Did you notice that there was no other COVID again from before that? So we had no COVID thing. Oh, World War I. Give me a break. The polio, come on, that's just stupid. I mean, so we don't have anything along those lines to say COVID happened. It gave us, we had an idea that COVID could come from the past. You see what I'm saying? When I say COVID, the supply chains being shut down, Royal Caribbean being shut down, freaking, you can't get toilet paper in Costco, everyone's got to wipe their butts with leaves. I mean, it's just, you can't use that. So the Vanguard models are better simply because, why? Because they say this are expectations for earnings. Expectations for earnings plus dividend yield, and I would add a point for stock buybacks. And that makes sense to me. They're not saying, well, historically, we've had this, that, the other. Again, I don't have any antipathy towards using that as a basis, but I just don't think your software program should be used for financial planning to say, hey, my financial planning, my retirement planning looks squared away because of historical rates of return. And again, in the book I'm working on, I'm using some historical rates of return to offset it against my expectations for rates of return going forward, using the Vanguard models and standard deviations. And we're kind of playing the two off each other. And what I like about Craig Israelis' portfolio actually is that you can actually manipulate the data any way you want, which is pretty sweet, which I'm doing that as well. So you can use the historical rates of return to get a basis. And I had no problem doing that. But you can use the historical rates of return, and you can manipulate it as well. To, say instead of being 8% stocks, we're going to give 6% stocks with the same standard deviation. It's pretty cool. I like that a lot. Then you can use Daniel Kohlberg's stuff at 55e.co, and Craig Israelis' stuff is at the number 7 spell out 12.com, and then 55e.co to see exactly what specific funds did in the past, which I find very informative and interesting. But you can't use that. I mean, you should, in my opinion, use that as your basis for forward planning. You should use stuff that our expectations for rate of return are XYZ, our expectations for dividend yield are XYZ, our expectations for standard deviations are XYZ. And that makes sense to me. You're saying, well, what's that based on? Well, standard deviation, I think you can base this on the past, for sure. Now, obviously, no one expected, and I've done videos on this before, where the bond standard deviations were well below what actually happened in 2022. So no one expected 2022 to come. And if you use historical bond standard deviations in 2022, you were way under over-optimistic when the bond market just got crunched. I mean, no one expected that. No one's standard deviation included the bond market happened like what happened in 2022. So the standard deviations pre-2022, standard deviations post-2022 for bonds are way different because of 2022, and no one expected it. But what else are you going to do, man? I mean, that was a one-off there, so you're like, okay, but now the standard deviations on bonds include 2022. So standard deviations for bonds make sense to me, 100%. Standard deviation on stocks makes sense to me as well. I got no problem with using a 17% standard deviation, none whatsoever. I mean, it could be 20, sure. Sure, it could be, but I think 17 is pretty good, man. I mean, you look at a 50, 17, 34, 51% decline on the worst case, minus, subtract whatever your expected rate of return, 5, so you're looking at 46%. That seems pretty realistic to me. I think that covers all bases there. But then the question is, what's your rate of return expectations? I hope that this probably doesn't make sense. I'm probably just yapping, but I just got a bone to pick. That's why you should use the Vanguard models, not historic rates of return. All right, love your thoughts. God bless. We'll see you. Don't forget to paw the like button, and then to give Pablo some street cred, you gotta paw the like button. We'll see you.